Good morning, everyone. It is a beautiful Monday morning in January 2023, and that is looking north on Yonge Street. I'm at Yonge Street and St. Clair on the east side of St. Clair, and I am walking southbound on Yonge Street. This is Yonge Street morning traffic. It is, I think, 9-ish. It's just about 9 o'clock in the morning, and when I left home it was -7, but it feels nice out. It feels it's fresh and there's no breeze, which is helpful because, as you know, when it's at all windy or breezy, it makes the temperature feel a lot colder than what the actual temperature may read. So if it's -7 and windy, it feels more -14. So it's been a while since I recorded, I think, in the morning, but I wanted to capture rush hour traffic. So it's I suspect the traffic is heavier a little earlier than 9 o'clock in the morning. So I had to mail a letter today, and I took it out with me over the weekend to mail it. It's usually every few blocks there's a mailbox, but what I have discovered is there are fewer mailboxes, and the mailboxes that are still standing are wrapped up by the post office. So they're sort of like a cellophane wrap almost. So they don't want you to use them. Why they would wrap them up and not just, rather than just like taking them away, I'm not sure why they would do that. Yeah, so you can't open up the little door to slide your mail in because it's wrapped up in what looks like to be cellophane. And so I've noticed when I was looking for other mailboxes that they were also wrapped up. So between the weekend and today, I have passed 2 mailboxes that were wrapped up in that cellophane. So I suspect I need to actually go into a drugstore or a post office, because they usually, of course, the drugstores usually have a post office section in their shop. So maybe that's what I'm going to have to do. Oh, there's downtown. It looks so bright down there looking south. And so as I was looking for a mailbox, I was thinking this morning, and it's been for a while, of course, but there are no longer freestanding phone booths on the street. If you recall, every few blocks there would be a phone booth, a freestanding phone booth. Bell Canada, you pay your 25 cents. I remember when you paid 10 cents for a phone call. But then I think the last time I used a phone booth was, the cost I think was 25 cents. So this is slated for demolition as well. 11 stories, 102 residences. So we're at Yonge Street and Woodlawn Avenue. This is, I think, the Cineplex head office or one of their main offices. There also used to be a theater in there. I think there still is. I remember I saw a movie in that theater. Probably, the first time I think I went in there was, I'm sure, shortly after I moved here. I saw the movie Abyss. And it was about a sea expedition to the bottom of the ocean kind of thing. And it starred, I can't remember the actress's name, but she played the sister of Al Pacino's character in Scarface, which is one of my all-time favorite movies. Well, here's another notice of demolition. This has been here for a while, this notice. But they're still offering leasing in the building. It's interesting. Anyhow, yeah, so I was there 30 years ago in that Cineplex theater, and then I was there one other time in the mid-90s and haven't been back since. Yeah, so I was thinking this morning, just getting back to the phone booths. And, so what I was mailing was an envelope. And the envelope actually contains a check. And, when was the last time you wrote a check on paper? On a slip of paper, right? Everybody had a checkbook back in the day. I can't remember the last time I wrote a check. The mail that I'm mailing is for David, and he had to write a check. But that's the only time. Accounting firms and law offices, they take checks still. Oh, see, here's another mailbox. This is what I mean. These mailboxes are not to be used. Please note the change scheduled to occur on the date below. Where's the date? No date. But yeah, this is what I'm seeing are these mailboxes. They're all wrapped up. Now, I'm not surprised that the mailboxes are wrapped up because, to my earlier point, who writes anymore? I mean, I remember, last time I actually sent Christmas cards via post was over 10 years ago. And I remember, at the beginning of every December, I would have a new box of Christmas cards and send out, about 15 cards. And then post them. That was well over 10 years ago. I think my last set of cards I sent was probably 2010. And those were Christmas cards. And even before that, or even during that time or around that time, I think that was the only time I used the post office. Or am I thinking? There may have been one or two other things, but certainly not on any regular basis, that's for sure. And before paying Visa online, I used to just go to the bank and pay my Visa bill. So yeah, it doesn't surprise me that these post boxes are being removed. Because other than this letter that I'm mailing for David, I haven't mailed anything, and I can't even tell you when. So it doesn't surprise me that they're gone. And I know the phone booths, as I mentioned earlier, they've been gone for a long time, but I think I have seen a couple of phone booths or public phones in the Eaton Centre, I think. I know I've seen the odd public phone in like a mall. I'm pretty sure it was probably the Eaton Centre, I would suspect. So phone booths are long gone. Like I said, if you remember, they used to be like every few blocks you'd find an actual phone booth. And I remember the odd time that I would ever have to use a phone booth, because of course that was before cell phones. I used to hesitate using them only because I would think about how dirty they might be. Do they ever get cleaned, sanitized? I don't know. But I never felt confident that they were very clean at all. And sometimes you couldn't use a phone booth because they may have used the phone booth as a washroom. So those are not missed. I remember before Netflix and Prime and on demand TV, I remember using VHS tapes to record programs that I liked. So, and here's another one. Now this one says broken, do not use. Post office 20 Bloor East. Okay, so there's a post office. Maybe it's just a post office versus a postal box. Yeah, so that's yet another post box that is not in use. Now that one said it was broken, but I'm sure all the other ones that were wrapped up, none of them had said that they were broken. Just don't think they're utilized. Yes, I remember VHS tapes. So I would come home from work at the end of the day and watch whatever I had recorded during that day. And I remember having to fast forward, and I thought it was a great thing with VHS tapes because I could fast forward through the commercials. And I don't remember the last time there's a couple things actually that I do record, PVR them on cable TV, but if I'm watching the tube, it's usually YouTube that I watch. It is a beautiful Toronto morning. It's crisp, it's busy, it's full of energy. I do miss, well, it's easy for me to say that now, but I do miss, the rush hour. And I say that with a bit of hesitation only because when I was actually part of the rush hour traffic, whether I was driving or subwaying it or walking, it was just about getting to work on time and thinking about what I had to do as soon as I got to the office. And that was sort of my focus. And I always enjoyed my walks to work. But I have to admit, I did spend majority of my working life either on the transit or driving to work. So that was far less enjoyable than walking to work. But I do remember when I did take the transit, the beauty of taking the transit was, of course, not worrying about the traffic so much and being able to enjoy a read. Of course, when you're driving, you can't do that. And I never had audiobooks back then. So probably the last time I drove to work, on any regular basis, oh gosh, 15 years ago, 20 years ago. Blue skies. Oh, there's the sun. Hello. Good morning. Pretty. Blinding, but pretty. It's Rosedale subway station. So they are doing some renovations here at the Rosedale subway station on the east side of Yonge, just north of Bloor. This construction has been going on for, I would say, a good 2 years. I remember the subway station that I normally take, if I do take the subway, is the Davisville subway station, right on the west side of Yonge and Davisville. And which I think when it's west of Yonge, I think it's called Chaplin Crescent, but regardless, they had put a elevator to the or in the Davisville subway station, and it took them at least 2 to 3 years to get that elevator in. So I don't think there's ever any overtime or weekend work for subway station renovations. Maybe that's why it takes as long as it takes. Because you compare putting in an elevator, just for 2 floors. I'm not talking 20 stories here. I'm talking ground floor to the basement or to the subway level. Compare that to a condominium development of 30 stories. It takes them 5 years in total versus at least the 2 years that it took the Davisville subway station to complete their installation of an elevator. I hope everybody is doing well, that 2023 is going according to your plan. ...2023 so far, for me, has been good. I lead a fairly low-key, simple lifestyle now. And this is my 4th year of retirement. And things are simpler. My wardrobe is simpler. Basically, jeans and a sweater in the winter, shorts and a t-shirt in the summer. But I still buy shoes. I still haven't made a lot of change to my footwear. Still like footwear, buying footwear. And, in my defense to that, not that I need to justify it, but because I walk so much, I find that I need to stay on top of keeping my footwear in good shape. So a trip to the shoe repair is fairly regular. Things go in about once a year. And then I have to replace items too. But yeah, everything else as far as needs and wants, I mean, human nature is we always want more, but I'm finding my wants as I get older to be far more toned down and refined and fewer, which I have to admit I'm enjoying. I remember, working and, it's always a new suit or new something. I was always buying something, office wear, which of course is very limiting because you really only wear it to work. But when you're wearing jeans every day, you can wear them every day as long as you're not in office. Mind you, I think the office world is much different today. In a lot of environments, jeans are far more acceptable. Back in my day, especially the early part of my career in the 80s, suits and dresses and nylons and high heels were the uniform of females in the office. And, you know, the guys that I worked with were all wearing sports coats, if not suits and ties. And then when I was involved more in the tech world, I was working as an HR practitioner, but working for technology companies. A lot of the software developers were primarily men, and they wore jeans, and it was an adjustment for the rest of the office staff, because it was always unusual to be wearing jeans in the office, except for software developers. And I remember, well, that's where I met my husband, was in the workplace. And he was in software, and he would wear a sports coat and blue jeans. And that was just so unusual. But they were the exception. It seemed like they were the only ones that could wear jeans to work. The rest of us, in every other department or division within the companies that I worked at, nobody wore jeans. And then there used to be, remember when blue jean Fridays were introduced? So the only time you could wear blue jeans was on Fridays, except when I was working in HR, majority of my career, you know, if I was interviewing on Fridays, we weren't allowed to wear blue jeans. If I wasn't interviewing, then I could wear blue jeans. So suffice it to say, I made sure interviews were not scheduled on Fridays. Because I didn't want to miss out. I loved wearing blue jeans. Okay, let's make this walk. We're at Bloor Street, east. Crossing, walking south, continuing to walk south on Yonge. It is such a lovely morning. So I'm going to be trying to put out a few more videos this month in January. Next month I won't be posting much, if at all. Got other things on the agenda. But I want to get at least 4 more videos out in January. I'm really enjoying my new camera. I mentioned previous videos, I have a new camera. It's smaller, it's lighter, it's much more convenient. Really enjoying this new camera. So I still have on my brain this morning things that are no longer being used in the 2020s, at least in the 2020s. So phone booths are very few and far between, if at all, but there are public phones I know around. I've seen them. I don't think anybody uses VCRs anymore. I don't even know if the VCR tapes are sold anymore. Mailboxes seem to be on the way out. Oh, see, here's another mailbox, but I can see it looks wrapped up as well. And we're at St. Mary's Street in Yonge. Yeah. Huh. I don't know why they just don't take them away, because if you noticed, some of them have been ripped. I'm wondering if because people are putting their mail in those boxes. That's kind of risque. Especially if they're taped up. That means they're not being visited by the postman anymore. What else? VCR's, mailboxes, phone booths. I mean, there's lots of other stuff, right? Well, rotary phones, or landlines for that matter. So, rotary phones, I remember reading or maybe watching or hearing about somebody who was like 10 or 12 years old, not knowing how to use a rotary phone. Like, that didn't even dawn on me, but I can sort of understand how that could be, because a lot of people don't even have landlines anymore. They just use their cell phones, and you're not using a dial to call someone. You're tapping on your phone on the keyboard. So that's interesting. And landlines, I mean, I know a lot of people who no longer have a landline. We still have our landline. Both David and I have a cell phone. We have our landline. But you know, the interesting thing is, if I ever need to call David versus texting him, I find that I'm calling his cell phone. And the reason being is because he's in my contacts, of course. So I just, tap into my contacts, and the number that I tend to use all the time for him is a cell phone number. I have to think whether or not I have included our landline in his contacts, or in my contact list under his name. I'll have to check that out, because I don't even know if I call my landline if I ever need to call David knowing that he's at home. But I think subconsciously, another reason why I could be calling his cell phone is because I know he has that with him all the time. It's another appendage. I, however, do not always carry my phone. When I'm out, I do. But when I'm at home, it's usually not near me. So when I do give my phone number out, I don't like giving my cell phone number out to begin with, but if I do need to provide a phone number to someone or to a business, I usually provide our landline number. Okay, we are at Wellesley. Looking west on Wellesley and Yonge. And there is east. Here we go. I used to work on Richmond Street and like Peter, around that area, Richmond Street and Peter. And every once in a while I would drive to work. I don't know why I did that. Oh, I know why I did that. It'd be the odd time I'd actually drive to work, and it was usually because if I did drive, I was either, my briefcase was too heavy, or and this is when we used to still use a lot of paper. That was like that was early 2000s. So we weren't using, oh, I know why. Because the material that I was working with was often, it couldn't be, is not material that I should be taking home. Or emailing home, rather. Just, I don't know, because security hacks, that type of thing electronically. So I used to have to take paper copies home and work on the material on paper copy. And it's just the sensitivity of the type of work, But nowadays it's a no-brainer. Security is, I think, much more proficient than in the early 2000s, mid 2000s. But yeah, I remember I wasn't allowed to send things electronically. Weird. Like outside of the office environment, just that's what I'm trying to say. Within the office and within the network of the business that I was working in, but to send it to my home email to work on or something like that was not allowed. I mean, that could still be the case today, but I don't think it's necessary today to have to email things to your home email address in order to work on it. You just log into the company website to do your work from there. Yeah, I remember being able to do that as well later on, but I remember earlier days that I used to have to carry paper and it would be heavy, and then I'd have to fill up my work case and bring it home, so I would just drive because it was too heavy. And that was usually during performance appraisal time, because there'd be 10 pages of a performance appraisal. Well, maybe not that much, but and then you had several appraisals to go through. Just too heavy. So knowing that I would have to review that documentation, I would just bring it home. That was the type of stuff that was easy to do with a cup of coffee at home. And I didn't have to, anything I could use with a keyboard. Typically did at the office, but just found having to do a lot of reading before being able to read masses electronically. I used to bring it home to read. Here we are. Where are we? We're right here. And I'll continue a little bit further down. Yeah. We're at College. And there's a Fran's restaurant. I think there's another Fran's restaurant further downtown, if I'm not mistaken. I could be wrong. But I remember there used to be a Fran's restaurant in Yonge and Eglinton neighborhood. Way back in the day. I think it was it right on Yonge? On the east side of Yonge, I think. Yeah, I'm pretty sure it was on the east side of Yonge. It was beside a kitchen table, which of course is no longer there. The Fran's is no longer there. I remember there used to be a Fran's on St. Clair, on the south side, like Yonge and St. Clair. The south side of St. Clair, that's long gone. this development here has been going on for quite some time as well. I'm not sure what they're doing here. There still is, on the other side of this construction, there is a traffic lane or two going southbound. College Park. I've yet to go into the IKEA store that is located up here in this Ara, I think it's called Ara Mall, maybe, building. There's an IKEA store, there's a Marshalls, Royal Bank. Is it Royal Bank? No, Bank of Montreal, rather. I don't know why I just walked that way. I should have walked on the outside. Yeah, I have yet to go into the IKEA store. I forget about this IKEA store. I think it just opened up maybe this past spring or summer, 2022. I don't go to IKEA on any type of regular basis, but I may have gone last spring or early summer for something specific. And I went to the one, was it on Shepherd? Wellesley and Shepherd area. That's the only one that was the closest to me. Well, this jewelry store it's called Barclay Jewelry. It's always been here since I've been in Toronto. And just this past 2022, it shut its doors. I'm not sure if they relocated or not. You can see Barclay Jewelry. It looks like a big, super tall high-rise is going on that corner. This has been under construction for, 5 years for sure. For sure, 5 years. I'm not sure what is being constructed here. The address up here says 385. So they're keeping the facade of this building. Yeah, this hole in the ground has been a good 5 years. Can't see how deep it goes. But it's a big space. You can see the facade is being secured here. I'm sure it's a combo commercial and residential. Oh, there's more going on here. Oh yeah, okay. Did I know about this? When's the last time I walked down this way? I don't remember this. So this might be within the last couple of months, maybe the last month. And what I'm referring to are these buildings here that looks like they are either being seriously renovated or torn down, maybe. Now, it could very well be, no, I have been down here in the last month, that I didn't even notice. That's not surprising that I may have not even noticed that until just now. I mean, there's so much to see, a lot of distraction. That's my rationale for not noticing. But it could be, in my defense, it could have just been set up for renovation or demolition within the last couple of weeks. We're nearing the Eaton Centre. Uh-oh, this building here across the way, the atrium, it looks like it is going to come down because it's only like, what, a few stories. And it looks like there's going to be a much taller building. Yeah. Another tear down. So David and I were watching, I think it's a Prime, I'm pretty sure it's Amazon Prime, a 6-part series called, I think it's The Tourist or maybe just Tourist, and it stars Jamie Doran. He's an actor out of, is it Ireland or England? Anyhow, he fairly popular, and the first few episodes we found gripping. It was really good. Couldn't necessarily anticipate like the next step. It wasn't as foreseeable as some shows we watch where we kind of know what might be coming up and you're usually right, but in this case we weren't sure. We weren't sure sort of what the next, or how to describe what might be happening next. So we were eager to see the next episode. So the first 4, as I mentioned, they were gripping. But the last 2 episodes, I have to admit, I was disappointed. You might not be. It might be something you really enjoyed. But it was worth watching, for sure, for the first 4. Last 2, less exciting. At Beveridge Theatre, Harry Potter and the Cursed Child. Gosh, it's been a long time since I've been in a theatre. Here we are, Eaton Centre. Vans store. I remember buying a pair of sneakers here from Vans, and they had cat images all over them. I still have them. Unfortunately, well, I still have them because I wear them very infrequently. And yeah, the reason why I hardly wear them is because they're really uncomfortable. But really cute. Really cute.
You've been stuck to my leg. Chasing really big for.
Sweat and Tonic. What is that? Oh, it's a restaurant. Oh, here we are at Shooter Street. And that is the drive-in to get to the parkade of the Eaton Centre. I know you cannot turn right or left off of Yonge to get into the parkade. You have to come in through Shooter Street. Or is it Shooter Street? I want to show you these really pretty lights here. Let me angle up. Oops. Oh dear. Well, I can't angle up, unfortunately. Darn it. Oh. I wonder if that... Yeah, right here. You can see how pretty that is. I never noticed that before, and I have traveled down this street like since forever. You know, that's kind of the cool thing, is that it's always fun to discover something new. And especially, you know, streets well traveled. This is such a beautiful building, Massey Tower. I remember up top there it says for sale. And I'm sure it was this building I remember seeing. There used to be a dental office up there. Way, way back. Back in the day. And usually when I say back in the day, I mean many years ago, usually decades ago. And this is the, what is this? The Elgin Winter Gardens, maybe? Is that what this is? Yeah, Elgin Winter Garden Theatre Centre. Oh, it's been forever since I've been here, but look at the beautiful stained glass or wrought iron. It's just beautiful, gorgeous. Here we are, coming up to Queen Street. So I was saddened by the news of the passing of Lisa Marie Presley. I remember when her parents got married, and I was crushed because I thought I would grow up and marry Elvis Presley. But then when I looked at Priscilla Presley, I thought she was so beautiful and looked so sweet that I was, you know, okay with that marriage. And then I remember, I was only 9, but I remember when Lisa Marie was born, because I always loved Elvis Presley and kept sort of close tabs on him. I remember when Lisa Marie Presley was born. I remember when she got married. She got married really young. I think she was like 20, early 20s maybe. And I remember when she had her kids. And I certainly remember, as probably a lot of us do, when she married Michael Jackson, which always sort of puzzled me a little bit. And I remember when she married Nicolas Cage, which I think that marriage lasted under a year. Here we are at Richmond. There's that restaurant across the street there, right on the corner. I think it's pronounced Lena or Lena. I've never been in there, but I've always wanted to go in there. It looks nice from the outside. It's probably been there for maybe 10, just under 10 years, that restaurant. So I'm noticing that the traffic, of course, has lessened considerably. Maybe I'm speaking a bit too soon. But it does seem a little less to me. Especially when I look at the lights. And there's, it's not lined up at the lights just further south. Not a big lineup coming northbound. I remember this used to be a mall in here. Now it's Good Life Fitness. But I remember that used to be a mall. So it was a big, when you walked into the entrance, it was a big long hallway, and on either side, the north or the south side, were, shops and that kind of thing. I used to go get my license renewed there. Now it has converted into a Good Life Fitness, and that's been for several years now. Not changed. Okay, now we are at the corner of Adelaide and Yonge Street, and this is where I'm concluding this video. Thank you very much for joining me. I hope you have a wonderful day. If you have not already subscribed, please consider doing so. And thank you for being part of my audience. Have a wonderful day. This is Boomer Girl Walking, signing off.